Hey Sean, this is Keaton Everett with ABC, going over your pitching video from camp. I'm going to go through and talk about your motion and your delivery and kind of go through a couple spots that we look at and just make sure everything's going good and just some ways that we can kind of improve ourselves, make ourselves more efficient, utilize our bodies, and just get us in a nice spot to sort of, as we grow, get stronger. Everything's in line to really maximize everything and get you in a good spot to stay healthy, throw as long as you can, and get as much power as you can, obviously, too. All right, so we're going to go back here to your first startup. So basically, we want to look at your age, the whole sort of idea of everything is repeatability mechanics, and that comes from balance. It comes from limiting excess movements, just maximizing everything. And so what we want to try to get to is a nice spot. So part of that consistency part is the setup. All right, so we want to try to set up in the exact same place. We want to try to set up where we're not moving a whole lot, where everything's sort of teed up, coiled up to, as we lift and start going, we're able to explode forward. So what I want you to kind of look at here is right off the bat, as you start here, you can see how everything shifts back outside of that box, and you kind of get a little bit taller, and there's just a little bit of movement going on with your upper body. If we just kind of key in here, as we get going, you can see you kind of rock back and kind of get down and get low and really really lose your posture. So basically what we kind of want to have is, at this point, we don't want to see any movement with your posture, all right? And your posture is basically your spine, all right? There can be a little movement back, but you can see you really get over that back foot, all right? So now your posture is right here, all right? Where we want to try to get it to be more, we don't have to have it be perfectly straight, but maybe over that back hip, maybe right around here somewhere, all right? So you're just kind of rocking back a little bit too much. And so what this is going to do is this just kind of makes you rock back, and that's going to make you rock forward. You're going to open up early. You're going to use your upper body instead of your lower half. And so you just kind of be aware of, try to kind of lock in that posture, and instead of rocking back with your posture here, you get your hips going forward first. All right. So now what we'd want to see here is, as we get going down the mound, at this point, your legs are working pretty good. They might not be back as far, but that posture is going to be right here. All right, and so then, instead of having your elbows at this point, they're going to be a little bit more in line, and that's just going to cause you to open up early. So what I mean by opening up early is, as we tick through, right as that foot hits the ground, so here's your foot strike right here, right at this frame. All right. So what you see is you're a little bit open early with your front side, but you can see how that front knee is sort of over that back heel a little bit. So ideally, what we want to try to see is this back heel off the ground, because you've started to rotate that knee down. All right. And so what that's going to show us here is we're going to be maybe back here. That back leg's probably going to be right around the same. What we're going to try to see is this front foot down a little bit farther with a little bit more bend in the knee. All right. And then, you probably keep about the same posture. That posture isn't too bad there. And then front glove, you're doing good at keeping that over your front foot. You can see it's starting to leak open a little bit early. So as we tick through, you can see it sort of pop down a little bit, but it's really not too bad. It's pretty solid. You're keeping your glove down over that front foot in this line here, which is pretty good to see. So that's a good thing. Now, part of sort of that popping open early, that hitch back, is your arm kind of has to play catch up. And what you're going to see is this angle get created back here, where you're right back in this position here. It doesn't put you up at a strain for injury or anything. It's just that everything's starting a little bit early through that delivery. So you can see how, right back here, your arm's kind of starting already going back to throw, and it's just a little bit late. It's just more kind of upper body oriented. You're just using a little bit more arm instead of your lower half. So as you get here, what we want to try to see is torque, and what torque is the ability for your hips to start turning before your upper body. So you can see that your upper body kind of goes first, and your hips haven't even rotated until there. So your sort of your upper body's leading, and then those hips are coming through. And at your age, it's a strength thing, but you want to try to get that knee to rotate down, your hip to turn through first before your upper body gets through. And so now you're going to be back in this position that we kind of looked at earlier with your elbows. So if we go back to here, you're going to be at this spot here, but your lower body is, going to look more closer to like this frame maybe, so that hip's starting to go before that upper body, and that's what that hip-shoulder separation, that torque is. That's where that velocity comes from. And then through your release point, you're doing a pretty good job at getting down over that front foot. You can see that head is pretty close there, but you're seeing that this leg's starting to straighten and this back foot's coming up off the ground. And so ideally through release, because you'd be a little bit more in line, a little bit farther out front, that knee, we'd still have bend in that knee, but our back foot would still be on that ground, creating a little bit more angle out front. So now our head and our chest would be out over our front foot a little bit more out here instead of back over here. All right, so then you pick up another 6 to 8 inches of release point. That ball's going to have more angle. It's going to have more bite when you start throwing breaking balls. And it just gets you a little bit more powerful position to utilize that lower half. So again, overall pretty solid. Now you just kind of have to focus on that lower half, keeping everything in line, staying back a little bit more, but work on that torque. Try to feel that hip start to turn before that upper body. So when you get older and get stronger, that velocity is going to come for you a lot easier. So, but anyways, overall pretty good. Hopefully have a great season this year. Thanks for making it out to camp, and hopefully we'll see you again with ABC.